up, RotoGrinders? We're back for round 2 of today's Mlb Dfs split slate. A little bit different depending on where you're shopping. FanDuel did include the 6:40 Marlins game. The Marlins taking on the Padres because FanDuel just wanted. You know what? FanDuel wanted Derek Carty and Dave Potts, Cheeseisgood, to discuss Blake Snell. That'll be a fun conversation. They're coming up later on Crunch Time, which of course, chief meteorologist Kevin Roth will be the head referee for that one as well. It's myself and Will Priester. You all know him as the Chief Justice. It's been a while. I feel like we haven't done this in a while. I'm happy to do it with you. I think you stepped in for somebody. You stepped in for somebody this morning. Is that what it was?
Yeah. I stepped in for Carty earlier this morning, and then today I was supposed to be on yesterday's show, but I think Keith needed to do something, so I was able to swap with him. Listen, I'm always happy to take one for the team when I can, and I miss you, Dean. I'm glad to be able to come on and do this show with you. We won't have as many shows just because, I'm on at 10:30 in the morning now and, talking about the pick'em sites, Underdog, Prize Picks, Vivid, Sleeper, you name it. We are discussing and just trying to help people, put them on some good plays in the industry. So it's been going pretty well, and thanks to everyone for joining me during that show, and thanks for the company as well for giving me a shot to just kind of do my thing. So I appreciate everybody, and join me at 10:30 in the morning right before Blender, and we'll be ready to roll.
The Take Your Pick'em show.
Yes, I guess I didn't say it, but it's called Take Your Pick'em because obviously we are giving out picks. So kind of a play on words, but once again, man, I'm enjoying the show, and you can come in. It's pretty segmented. We've got some standard segments. If you come in, the first thing you're going to get is the winning words of wisdom, and then we proceed throughout the show because I think in anything, my DFS, pick'em sites, it's all about mindset. If you have a positive mindset, keep the positive energy flowing, good things will continue to happen for you for sure.
Give me an example. Like, what were the winning words? Pardon me, I didn't watch the show this morning. I was prepping for the baseball show, but we talked DFS 11:30 earlier today. What is an example of like the winning words of wisdom? Have you have anything off the dome? Is there like it depends on the day?
No, I'll give you today's winning words of wisdom.
Yeah,
from Jules Renard, and it says everything you want is out there waiting for you to ask. Everything you want also wants you, but you have to take action to get it. And so, those are the types of things I like to give out, just, positive thoughts and trying to help people, encourage people to, think positive things about yourself first, right? Like if you can change yourself, you can change the world. If you can change yourself, you can change your environment. And I'm a big believer of that. And so I try to, hand out one little nugget a day. If I can hand out one nugget of positivity to someone that helps their day, I'm all for it. And I won't get into the ripple effect and all of that. That's a whole different thing. I haven't talked about the ripple effect because that would be a class. But I once again very appreciative to come on and talk about it, talking plays, and trying to help people, make a few dollars along the way. So let's get cracking.
The sports books, by the way, had it was plus 20,000 for Jules Renard to get a reference on GrindersLive. So if you happen to have that ticket, he read. This is the first mention to my knowledge ever. A little shout out to Jules Renard though. So there you go. I had to do a quick Google. I'm not aware of him, but that sounds that's good. I like that. Positive. Nobody's more positive than you are, Will, and it's good because, and especially when, even yourself, all of us, we will go through times. Just as far as DFS specifically, we'll have those doldrums where you're just getting smashed in certain periods. It's like, I thought I was good at this. I feel like I know what I'm doing. I thought I had a pretty good process. And then, you break out of it eventually, hopefully, theoretically. But attitude and mindset and bankroll management, all that kind of stuff is super important to sustain and play and do what we do for a very, very long time. Did you have something you wanted to add on? I feel like you were saying something else.
No, I'm good, man. I'm good. I positivity it's just a beautiful thing.
They're calling you the Tony Robbins of DFS, by the way.
Oh my god!
Is he still doing his thing? Tony Robbins is like 9'7". I'm pretty sure.
Oh boy, Tony Robbins.
Yes. What's the movie where he gets caught in an elevator with Jack Black? You know what I'm talking about?
I don't.
I can't think of it for some reason. Jason Alexander from Seinfeld's on it as well. Somebody in chat's gonna let us know. What's up, chat? Hit that like button. Do subscribe. Do turn those notifications. Do all those things to help us keep the proverbial lights on here. It is much appreciated. All right. Bo, are you sweating anything right now as far as the Ole slate? There's still some games going on. The Dodgers.
Man, I'm sweating some soccer right now. My man, watch out in the prop shop. I mean, man, he just gave us a soccer card for the ages, and it looks like we're in extra time, and so I need these passes, guys, to like stay under on the other side, because I mean, listen, the man just gave out straight fire today, and it's just we need these guys to get rolling here. So hopefully somebody can score it in this game, or else it's going to hurt real bad.
We got Shallow Hal. Thank you, Chad. For some reason, I cannot think of Shallow Hal. There you go. Twins lineup just dropped, by the way. Julien is leading off. It looks like there's no Buxton is the first thing I see. And I think there's also no Lewis, this Minnesota lineup. We'll talk about Brown in a second. Brown, the starting pitcher for Houston, the chalkiest pitcher on the slate. The lineup for Minnesota, a little bit watered down. Again, no Buxton, no Lewis. I guess I don't want to force him with 3 games in a row back coming off that ACL. Julien's leading off. Solano, Kirilov, Farmer, Gallo, Jeffers, Kepler, Castro, and Taylor. So not the best lineup there. Roof is going to be closed as well, for what it's worth. No Jose Altuve for Houston. That's another one, another notable that's not playing baseball this evening. Is there anybody else that kind of stood out? Verdugo's back. Fraley's not playing for Cincinnati. He was removed from yesterday's game. I think he hurt himself running out of play to first base. Still waiting on, the night games, obviously, Colorado, Arizona, New York, and Seattle. We'll get those lineups, if not later on this show. Crunch time will probably get them at some point. What are we looking at here, Chief, as far as today's, the slate? Hunter Brown, it looks like the best pitcher, and facing a Minnesota team that's. Yep.
Like,
there you go.
No, you go ahead. I'm just agreeing with you. I'm just agreeing with you.
Yeah. Yes. Well, talk to me about Hunter Brown, and I'm pulling up his ownership right now, especially on DK, where you got a roster too. Kirby's really good as well, but of course he's facing the Yankees, kind of somewhat of a daunting lineup. 52% ownership on Brown is not terribly surprising. Kirby's getting 33%. Paxton at 24% against Cincinnati. Nola against the Mets, not the greatest matchup in the world, but theoretically he's still a pretty good pitcher. 23% for him. Clark Schmidt, that is 22%. The Manoah one, I'm curious what your thoughts are on Manoah, because I've just been frightened to roster that guy for like a month now. Basically all season, and I've stopped, and I think I'm stopping tonight as well. So I'm curious what your thoughts on Manoah are, because he's like a 20% guy because of, he's cheap. But Brown, he's 50%, 52%. It's going to be really heavily owned. It's just a matter of, it's an ownership thing, I suppose, but I'm just going to lean in, and I'll be different elsewhere, and I don't care. I'll probably play 100% Brown, to be honest. What are you doing with Hunter Brown?
Yeah, I think he's the top play, especially on FanDuel one-pitcher sites. So here's the thing, right? We've got – am I able to kind of talk through a couple pitchers and then kind of parlay that into Hunter Brown, or do you want to kind of go do something different?
Hey, go for it, man. We have all the time in the world. We're here for the next hour and 5 minutes. Have at it.
So here's the deal. We've got some name value pitchers that 2 to 3 years ago – at these prices, we would have loaded up on. So like Blake Snell at $9K on FanDuel, right? Like 2 or 3 years ago, we would say, okay, like he's going to mow this team down. Well, not quite the same Blake Snell that we're accustomed to. I would be okay if the K rate was still at 30% and he gave up 3 runs. I can't accept that when you're getting 5 and 6 strikeouts and giving up 3 to 4 runs. So So Snell at 9K is, we would have had him in play a couple years ago, not so much. I do think James Paxton is sneaky for tournaments, but what are the Red Sox going to do today? I mean, last time he obviously given up a lot of hits. He given up 5 runs, was only at 50-something pitches, and they pulled him. The start before that, he went 107 pitches. Maybe they were trying to protect him. I don't know. But I do think he's still interesting. Aaron Nola at 9,900 against the Mets. If this is 2 or 3 years ago, we're saying, hey, Aaron Nola's a great tournament play. Aaron Nola's had trouble since spring training. And, I do think he will have some games this season where he kind of turns back into the Aaron Nola that we're accustomed to. But as of right now, his K stuff isn't there, right? So when I'm looking over this slate and I'm saying, well, we like guys that get strikeouts, but we also like matchups. Hunter Brown is so chalky today, but man, he's just the best play. I can't overthink the situation. And so that's why I went around the bush to kind of talk about it. I just think he's the best player. You need to get him in, period.
Yeah, we'll circle back and talk about all those other guys individually because, I'm sure chat's going to be curious our thoughts on them and kind of dig a little bit more. And again, we certainly have the time to do it. Biggest K rate in the slate is James Paxton. It's sort of wonky, obviously, small sample stuff, 14 innings, 31.7%. And the swinging strike rate kind of suggests that maybe he's being a little bit lucky when it comes to his strikeouts, just 9.4%. Too many walks from him as well, 10%. We'll talk about him soon enough. Brown, second biggest K rate, a little bit more legit too, 57 innings, 28.1%. I believe he has the lowest Sierra as well. Yeah, lowest Sierra on the slate at 3.34. The walks are pretty good at 7.7%. The ground balls are awesome, elite, 54.4%. I'm waiting for plate IQ to refresh. Probably is going to get it now as far as the Minnesota lineup because the one we had projected was a little bit different than the one we got. Again, no Buxton and no Lewis in there. So let's see, specific to this Minnesota lineup. Okay, so Will, pull it up. Pull up the old plate IQ. This season against righties, this lineup that they're running out, this iteration is 28.3% striking out versus righties. Julien, 33%. Solano, 24%. Everybody's in the red with the exception of one hitter, and that's, small sample size, Max Kepler at 20%. That's the shortest guy as far as striking out. Taylor strikes out a ton. Well, we're looking at 37% there as well. Gallo at 34. I don't know what the props are right now for Brown and strikeouts. You're more on top of than I do, but I feel like if you were kind of like on the fence, if you're thinking about betting the over, if you like the over, you feel better about the over now. Now that we got the Minnesota lineup, is that fair to say?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I was feeling fine regardless, but because this team as a whole, even though they may be able to sprinkle in a couple of low strikeout bats here and there this season. As a team, Dean, they really don't have too many bright spots for strikeouts. Tons of power, right? Like tons. But in terms of strikeouts, I mean, it's just so many to be had. So I'm not afraid of this. If I'm not mistaken, I think Hunter Brown was probably sitting around 6.5, 7.5. And I'll pull that up right now just to make sure that is accurate. I don't want to feed the people anything too crazy. Or that's incorrect, excuse me.
So I see it on Scores and Odds. I pulled it up. He's
7.5, 6.5, depending on where you are.
Yeah, if you want over 6.5, you got to lay 150 on points bet. I don't know. As a general rule, I don't like laying that amount of juice unless I really, really feel good about it. And I feel like he's probably going to get there. But
honestly, I think the best one right now, I take the plus 120 at BetMGM over 7.5. Like that's to me, that's the best one on the board right now.
I agree. Yeah. You're getting 70 points. Now is it possible you get 7 and you made the wrong decision? Sure, I suppose that's possible. Where you win if you go over 6.5 and you lose if you go over 7.5. But the difference between 6.5 minus 150 and 7.5 plus 120 is huge. 70 betting points. So I think that's kind of interesting. The over on BetMGM. Do check out Scores and Odds. But Scores and Odds will let you know, help you steer in the right direction as far as price shopping. Because I can see the Fanduel line for Brown and everybody else not just for strikeouts, but for earned runs, hits, walks, home runs, total bases, steals, all that stuff from a slew of books. So it's a huge time saver, and one of the biggest edges in sports gambling these days is price shopping, because you'll be surprised sometimes. You'll see a guy's plus 400 hit a home run on one site and plus 800 in the other site, and some people are just clicking away because this is you got to shop. You got to shop around. When you actually hit it, you want to get paid off as much as you possibly can get paid off. All right, So beyond Brown on DK, we're looking at let's see, this is as of about 30 minutes ago. We'll get a new batch of ownership in soon. How do you feel about Kirby? Kirby at 33%, good pitcher. You got to pay for him. He's not going to walk anybody. We feel good about that, right? The walk rate for Kirby is, where is it at? 2.4% this season. Jeez, that's pretty outrageous. Now, the Ks are not spectacular. They're okay, right? 20.1%. It's going to cost you, George Kirby as an SP2 or an SP1 if you're not playing Brown for whatever reason. What's your thoughts as far as Kirby pitching for Seattle?
I don't hate Kirby. Where's the upside? I think if you're playing Kirby, you're maybe playing him to be safe. Now, look, I understand that it's the Yankees. They rocked Logan Gilbert last night. Kirby could very easily come out tonight and get 6 strikeouts and this team not hit the ball. I get that. And so because the slate is small, you probably do get some exposure. But I don't, honestly, I think I will probably have more Schmidt than Kirby for what it's worth.
Well, then talk about Schmidt.
7,700. So Schmidt is it's basically a strikeout play. So basically what I'm hoping is he picks up enough strikeouts with this lineup that strikes out just as much as Minnesota, and doesn't give up the runs, right? So, and when I say doesn't give up the runs, I'm saying doesn't get touched up for 5 runs. I would gladly accept 7 strikeouts from Schmidt tonight and him giving up 3 runs. I'd gladly take that and him getting through 6. Fantastic. Very cheap. What I don't want is for him to get 7 strikeouts and give up 5 runs. So that's kind of where I'm at with Schmidt. I just think on the low end, I really think he's a better play than Kirby today for the price. If he was 8,500 and Kirby was, and we're comparing him to Kirby, but I mean at 7,700, we're getting almost a $2,000 discount, 1,700 to be exact. I love getting in on some Schmidt today at 77. I think he's got really good upside against this lineup.
By the way, Eric in chat says, "What's up with the ceiling on Hunter Brown?" He's got a 39-point ceiling on DK. That's not completely insane. He could strike out 10 of these Twins and go 7 innings. That's, again, ceiling is top 3 percentile outcomes, right? It's not a likely scenario, but for sure he can do that. He's very good. And this Minnesota lineup, while it has some power, they will strike out plenty. Let's see, DK-wise, I'm looking at our consensus rankings, myself, Head Chopper, Tim, Tastefuls Hides, and Napster Man. We do have Brown and Kirby 1-2. This is what scares me, man. This is what scares me, consensus rankings. We have, and he's cheap. Manoah is, and this is considered salary and all that kind of stuff. Manoah's 3rd in our rankings, and I don't feel good about this. Make me feel better or tell me that my instincts are correct, that I should still stay away from Manoah.
You need to stay away from Manoah, Dean. Don't do it. And let's just kind of talk through that, at least from a plate IQ perspective, because this guy has been awful this year, and he's not going to be able to capitalize on the name that he's built up for himself in this young career. He's not been good, and Milwaukee is not some juggernaut team, but I mean, Alek Manoah has a 6.49 xFIP. Even if you threw everything else out, Dean, he's on his way to pretty much getting shelled almost every game, or the opportunities are there for him to get shells. Been giving up a fair amount of hits this season, walking guys at a 14.9% K rate. 14.9% walk rate. Dean, please save yourself the heartache, heartbreak. God, do you remember that old country song? Don't Tell My Heart, My Achy Breaker. This man is a heartbreaker. Don't throw him in your lineups. Just hit the X button.
Look, Billy Ray Cyrus, you're doing,
and move on. Yeah,
I don't.
hit the
It had
X
its own
button
dance and
on.
everything. Country is not my forte. I just never understood how every song has its own dance. It seems like, and how does how do they spread the word? They're like, all right, this is this song. They're going to do this 2 steps this way. I don't know if it just spreads organic. Somebody in chat enlighten me on that. I don't. It's not my thing. But I do know the Billy Ray Cyrus song. I don't have a second favorite Billy Ray Cyrus song. That's all I got. But yeah, did you see? By the way, I was watching the story. Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler is a country music fan, right? And I guess he wasn't like traditionally, like he didn't grow up become a country music fan, but he was telling the story in a podcast where his teammates were playing. They had headphones on, and they would be playing their headphones, but they wouldn't have them on. They just have them around their neck, and it was like he could hear what they're listening to, and he's like, "Turn it down!" Like, for whatever reason, he wanted whatever they're listening to. And he went and spiteful Jimmy Butler. He went and Googled. He's like, "Listen, I'm gonna do the same exact thing." And he went and Googled what's the most country song possible, right? And I think it was "Don't Take the Girl" by Tim McGraw. And he started blasting that the next day. "Don't Take the Girl" by Tim McGraw. And his teammates are like, "Dude, like, turn that down. What are you doing?" He said, "I'm just doing the same thing you're doing." And then he said, "You know what? I just started listening to it, and I think I like it." And he liked it. He liked the song, and from there, I think he's a big country fan. And I don't know if he was joking or not, but he said he's working on an album, a country album. So okay, I don't know when that's coming, but stay tuned for that. There you go. I just listened to a podcast, and there you go. I saw a little snippet of it on Twitter, so I thought that was a interesting anecdote that I felt like sharing. All right, what were we talking about before I completely derailed the show, Will?
Baseball.
Oh, all right, back to baseball. My apologies. By the way, just to get clarity here in the chat, they're talking about Eric. You're looking at the Fanduel ceiling. I was talking about DK, and Fanduel scoring and DK scoring are distinctly different, and that's why you're seeing 72 on Fanduel. And 72 is an outrageous number. I don't think it's likely we get 72 Fanduel points out of Brown, but he can get it. Like, theoretically, is a possible sure. Kenny wants to know, speaking of Fanduel, and you kind of touched on it. Kenny wants to know Blake Snell, right? What do we think of Snell today? You kind of mentioned that the K's have been down so much this year. Like, at least the ceiling, like when he actually reaches it, when he actually gets there, you get paid off for it. But few and far between this season. The K's are down to 24% this year, which is not terrible, but they used to be higher. The weird thing is he's facing a Miami team, Will, that's really impatient, with the exception of Soler and Davis, small sample. They don't take walks. 6% collectively as far as walking, but they also don't strike out. So like, this is the weirdest thing. Snell is facing a team that he walks a lot of people, that doesn't walk. He strikes out a lot of people, at least historically, enough this year, but they don't strike out. I don't know how to handle Snell. Full disclosure, I think I might make one lineup. Good ballpark, obviously, there in Florida. And like, these hitters aren't good, not a lot of power outside of like Soler. Basically, that's it. Power.
Come on.
What's this happen? Soccer?
Hey, my good friend Mitch Keller just picked up a 7th strikeout. Oh, it's a glorious day. Glorious.
I'm gonna guess you had over 6.5.
Oh, I did. Oh, yes, I did. What a glorious day.
There's a lot of runs being scored. Lance Lynn got his face fully punched in. They lost 12-5. Did they bring a position guy to pitch the last inning? Who was Crockett?
I'm not sure.
Is that a position guy?
I'm not sure, but I don't want to get us off the rails. So here's my deal with Snell, Dean. I don't know if there will be enough strikeouts available to him today. And I think I talked about this on. I made a guest appearance on another show with some buddies of mine at Stat Jocks yesterday. But I was talking about the fact that there are a lot of Jekyll and Hyde teams this season, and Miami is one of those teams. I'm not going to go down the laundry list of the teams, but Miami is one of those teams. If you're not careful, Dean, you'll get sucked into what you think is reality, and it's not, right? So what is reality is Miami is going to struggle against right-handed pitching, especially upper echelon pitching. They're going to strike out a ton. But against left-handed pitching, they're barely going to strike out at all. And so it's very interesting to me, the dynamics that we see here, because while there isn't a lot of power and there aren't a lot of walks, there are not a lot of strikeouts. And so the name of the game in this one is where are the strikeouts, especially for a guy like Snell. And we're saying, hey, this team doesn't walk. Blake Snell has a 13.7% K rate. He may just walk some guys just because, right? They may be just so far out of the strike zone. He may walk some guys. I'm expecting him to walk some guys. And so as a result, I don't think Snell has the upside today. I don't think he has it. And so, if he gets Babbitt to death with this team, I mean, we've seen Snell be at 60 pitches through 2.5 innings. Like it could get really ugly really fast. He could also have pitch a gem today. I get it. But I don't think enough strikeouts are here. So I'm actually going to take the fade on Snell. And whatever happens, happens. I'm willing to live with that on FanDuel anyway. And that's just that.
Yeah, I kind of wish I didn't have to deal with him, but he is on FanDuel, and I think I'm making 3 lineups on FanDuel, and maybe I'll make one to be a little bit different. I want to see what the ownership currently is on Snell. I figure a good bit will be on Brown. Brown at just 27%, Kirby 24%. You're getting a pretty distinct discount. You're saving 1.3K. And Snell at 8% is kind of interesting. And you laid it out. Like it's a weird collection of Miami hitters, but they're super contact heavy. Rise is in there, which is annoying. Gurriel just doesn't strike out. And even the power guy like Soler makes a fair bit of contact. Segura, I believe Gene Segura is one of like the 3 or 4 guys that qualify with the bats that do not have a home run this season, but he doesn't strike out also. He just makes a bunch of contact, which is annoying. All right, Mariners lineup just dropped, by the way. It's Crawford, France, J-Rod, Kelnick, Suarez, Big Dumper, Kyle Raleigh, Hernandez, Trammell, and Wong is your Seattle lineups. I believe we're waiting for just 3 more. The Yankees on the other side of that Seattle game. Arizona, who I suspect will be pretty popular against Denison Lamet. He was a guy who aced the roster like 5 years ago for the Padres. Remember him? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Speaking of remember him, he's back. We'll talk about it soon enough, but like Julio Teheran, I stacked against him last game like crazy. Didn't work, but I'll do it again. The roof's open in Toronto, and that's one more reason, by the way, not to play Manoah right with the roof being open. What's the current temperature? I imagine it's probably like in the 70s, maybe the 80s or so. Otherwise, they wouldn't be opening the roof. But speaking of weather, it is a good weather game today in Boston, in Fenway. I'll drop the Kevin Roth, just kind of his weather article. Actually, I shouldn't, because the only thing in there is just stuff that's already been played. But we can talk about the weather edge. He has no notes for tonight. Weather edge, we have a 188 game sample as far as Boston, 75 degrees, 8 mile per hour. Wind out to the monster, out to left field, at the left center field. In 188 similar games played here in Boston at this specific condition, we've seen a bump in home runs at 11.5% and a bump in runs at 10.7%. So if you like Boston, you should like them more. A 10.5 total in this game. The Red Sox close to a 6 against Luke Weaver. The Reds about a 4.5 total against James Paxton. Otherwise, not much else going on, I don't think, weather-wise. Right? That's basically it, I believe. Nothing else is really eventful, but just thought it was worth noting that. Yes, roster LeMay, you'll be lamenting. I believe so. Oh, Shannon says the roof's open in Arizona tonight. I missed that. Why would they open it? Well, I don't want to go on that little thing, but why? It's hot. It's a desert out there in Arizona, Yeah, so that's why you're probably going to consider stacking up some Diamondbacks against Dinelson Lamet. Let's finish up pitchers, though. Other pitchers, we kind of threw some names out there. You're on board with me as far as the Manoah fade. Did you give an official James Paxton take? I don't know what to do with Paxton.
I think he's good for tournaments. I don't like it because, man, they could just, roll him out there and pull him. But I think he's fine for tournaments. I don't like the matchup against Cincinnati. They've been hitting pretty well, and they don't strike out as much either. But I do think, as currently constructed, Paxton probably has a little bit more strikeout stuff. But once again, on DK, I think he's fine for sure.
All right. Other pitchers that we, at least that are throwing baseballs, we can acknowledge their existence, I suppose. We mentioned Nola in passing, 22% ownership. I'm not a big like home road splits guy, but I'm pretty sure he's like distinctly better at home throughout his career, for whatever it's worth or for whatever reason. You like that home mound. Tommy Henry, 2 first names, is getting 11% ownership just because he's throwing baseballs against the Rockies, and the Rockies are terrible. And he's also cheap. He's cheap, and he's throwing baseballs against the Rockies. I suppose he can just kind of make stuff work, but I would temper your expectations. You probably don't want to seek out Tommy Henry, but are you willing to roster him and his 12.6% K rate and his 9.8% walk rate? If we get you all the bats you want. Ugh.
Nope, I'm not playing Mr. Henry.
Yeah, I don't think I am either. But he's getting some ownership. Carrasco getting very little. He's been bad this year. Varland, I don't really want to pick on Houston. No Altuve, but still, nonetheless. Tehran and Lamet are each getting a percentage point. Lamet not expected to go especially deep, 75 pitches for him. Tehran, 83, both, probably only around 4 or 5 innings or so. Anything else of note? Anything else we should say as far as pitchers? Anything you want to stress?
No, the slate's bad. Hunter Brown is your top play. Kirby is fine. Nola is fine. Paxton is fine. Weaver is Schmidt would be my absolute next play in. So if I'm playing on DraftKings, my combination is Brown Schmidt to start, and then I just funnel in anyone else that you like around those particular players.
For what it's worth, our consensus rankings are Brown, Kirby, Manoah. This is DK specific. Brown, Kirby, Manoah, Nola, Paxton, Schmidt, and Henry got a little bit of love. And again, that's just because he's cheap. He's cheap, and he kind of sort of makes stuff work, but he's not especially good. Phil says Chase Field stays pretty cool for the fans when the roof is open. It's quite enjoyable. I was there many years ago when the roof was closed, so I did not experience it with the roof open. But I'll take your word for it. Sure. It's a dry heat, of course.
Heat.
As B Shot points out. I guess, that just seems like a marketing thing. It's just hot.
Listen, I think Bagley 232 though. He gets one of the quotes of the day. Roster Lamet, you'll be lamenting. Incredible, sir. Incredible. Or maybe I think that's a sir. I'm looking at the picture. It's a small picture that I see on the screen. Bagley 232. I love it. That's beautiful. Great use. Just great use of vocabulary. Incredible. I love words, Dean. If you haven't figured that out.
You didn't love him. I said those same exact words 3 minutes ago. I read the quote from the screen, and you're sweating a picture or something. And you're watching soccer.
No, I'm
you
not
didn't like it the first time you heard it.
I'm not watching any soccer, guys. Dean does this to us all the time. I love when I get to return the favor. You got to boost it up, Dean. These listeners take time out of their schedule. They're coming home from work or sitting, at a kid's soccer game. We got to boost them up, Dean. We want these people to know that we appreciate them swinging by our virtual humble abode. Thank you, Bagley 232. You made my day.
Is your son's basketball season over?
For high school, yes. AAU, no. He's full-fledged, and I'm actually going to be coaching every Thursday now. And so not his team. I coach girls basketball. And so I've got a team that we have a game every Thursday. And then in July, we'll have one every Tuesday and Thursday. So I will be, kind of hitting it a little bit in July, but should be a ton of fun.
All things being equal, would you want to not coach your son or to coach your son? Probably not coach your son. Well,
I don't want to coach my son at all.
Okay. Yeah.
And so here's why. It's not that I can't coach him. I have coached him before. But the reason I don't want to coach him, I just like to go to his games and be a dad. So I just like to sit in the stands, watch him play, and then if he if he asks me how he did or whatever, we'll talk about it after the game. But I don't try to be his coach during the season. Now in the off season, I do coach him a little bit more, but he's not really playing for a school team. During the high school season, I try to be off limits. I just try to give him support. If he asks me for feedback, I give it to him. or if he's just really doing something, I'm like, hey, son, look, you got to fix this. I'll have that conversation. But I try to be hands off and let him, develop his skill throughout the year and try not to be his coach and just be his dad. Now, off season, we're working out. We're working through some things. I try to coach him a little bit. And I tell him that. I'm like, look, I'm not dad today. I'm coach. All right, let's go. We got work to do.
Yeah.
I feel like I had to kind of blast.
You're letting his coach do his thing, and you just be a dad. It's probably easier on him as well.
Yeah, for sure. I had to blast him in one of our earlier workouts. He came in. I'm like, hey, son, have you stretched? You go, oh, yeah, I stretched, 40 minutes ago. And I'm like, son, look, you got to do the right things all the time, right? Create good habits. If you have bad habits, but you're looking for improvement, that's not going to work. Like, you got to have good, especially in sports, discipline, good habits, working on mechanics. That's what it takes if you want to get there. Anyway, all right, I'm done, and thank you guys for listening to me rant. And
I was asking. I was curious. So it wasn't you derailing the show. That was on me, but I was genuinely curious. And I think that's great. Alan, by the way, wants to know double barrel pitching and DK for single entry or drop down for bats. I mean, double barrel is kind of a relative term, right? Like, I guess Brown and Kirby's double barrel is Brown and when I think of double barrel, I'm talking about like I'm running out like Garrett Cole and like McClanahan or something like that, or Strider. I guess Cole's not even whatever. You understand the point. Yeah. How do you feel about spending up on two big arms like Brown, Kirby? I think you mentioned Schmidt. You like Schmidt as like
but Schmidt isn't really expensive. Yeah, he's $7,700, so we're kind of not spending up. If I'm on DraftKings and I'm spending up, then it's Brown, Kirby, Brown, Nola, Brown, Paxton. I'll even do Brown, Varland, Brown, Weaver, Brown, Schmidt. I don't think I go past Schmidt today for what it's worth. So Schmidt and up, I just rotate the guys through. Now, I like Schmidt more than everybody else. So I'd probably, if I was going to break this down in my head for me personally, Brown 100%, Schmidt I'd probably have at 25, Weaver 10 to 15, Varland 10, Paxton 15, 20, Nola 10, Kirby 10, because I'd be much heavier on Schmidt, Paxton than the other guys.
By the way, just to follow up on your coaching experience or how you treat your son, good point here in the chat. Bagley says, as a coach, being a coach, I respect the way you handle being a parent because, and I'm sure you get both ends of it. But you're gonna be coaching as well, and there are probably some parents that maybe are too involved, and to just go to the chief school of just be a parent, just enjoy the game, relax. I got this. It feels like a thankless job, being a coach, but I'm sure you're good at it. I assume you are. All right, let's talk about some stacks. Number one stack on the board today, consensus value rankings. This is interesting because I think it's similar to. Now, of course, it didn't go the way as planned, as it's baseball, right? But it's similar to the early slate where there was three teams. There was Texas, there was the Dodgers, and there was Atlanta. Those are the three teams that are numbers-wise, math-wise, they look like the three best stacks. I think this slate has three that stand out. I think it's Toronto, Arizona, and Boston. And then, you got your Houston, you got your Philadelphia, and you can start entertaining other conversations as well. The Yankees, you can always stack them, sure. Do you agree with that? Well, where are you at as far as your favorite stacks today? Is that the correct tier? Boston, Toronto, Arizona? Would you kick one out? Would you move one in?
So for me, I think I like those, but I think for me, I'd be on Philly, I'd be on Milwaukee. Alek Manoah hasn't been good. I'd just be attacking bad pitchers. I think I'd have a sprinkle of Marlins just because they're not striking out in terms of stats. Now, there are one-off pieces from any of these teams we could take. Okay, so let me just clear that up. But just in terms of stats, and then look, man, call me crazy. I think Houston isn't as great as Arizona today. I think Arizona could be.
Oh, I agree.
Elite.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I am.
By the way, I don't want to cut you off, but we just got an Arizona lineup, and Pavin Smith is leading off for them Ketel Marte batting second, Carroll third, Walker, Gurriel, Rojas, Moreno, McCarthy, and Perdomo. So
I actually like it when Perdomo is in the 9-hole. Actually, like I like that much better. So that's
for Perdomo or for other players besides Perdomo.
No. I'm saying when Perdomo's in the 9-hole, I like that because I get a nice wraparound. Perdomo's a guy that can hit a little bit. So being able to run that Perdomo, Smith, Marte, Carroll, like that's incredible. Hello?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I thought you had more to say. I thought you
no.
I apologize. I was like, hey, you got more to say about Arizona? But yeah, we'll talk about
good.
That. No, I have Arizona in the top tier. I have Arizona, Boston, and Toronto 1, 2, 3 in some order. I probably have Toronto first. Roof being open. I know it's good weather there in Boston as well. I think I have Arizona third. Yeah, according to my official rankings I did earlier today, and I'm not moving off it. I have Toronto 1, Boston 2, Arizona 3. Philly 4, Houston 5. A little bit bummed to lose Altuve for Houston. The 5 spot can be a rotating cast of teams. Philly, especially on Fanduel where the prices are really friendly. Schwarber and Turner are still really cheap. I think Schwarber's $3K on Fanduel and Trey Turner's $2.8. I know those guys have not been as spectacular if you know them historically. Even Bryce Harper's like $3.6, $3.7, which is pretty cheap. He's more of a 4K player. It is raining here, by the way. I apologize. I saw somebody in the chat asking about it. Yeah, I'm going to try to pause my mic when I'm not talking, but it is pouring a good bit outside once again.
Can I answer this question while we're kind of in the middle of that? So Mr. Richard, he says, how about Colorado versus Tommy Henry for DK? I love it, right? So here's the thing, right? I feel like we're piling up on the teams that are actually good, when essentially on this slate, we could take the teams that aren't good but probably have better matchups. Like Colorado and Arizona have probably some of the best matchups on the board today. And so I really like those teams. Like the Yankees and Mariners probably have okay matchups, but they're not better than Henry and Lamet. The Phillies against Carrasco, I think, is fairly good just because Carrasco's not good today. So you get what I'm saying? Like that's kind of how I feel about this slate. And then obviously, Toronto is obvious, but like I said, Milwaukee against Manoah is a really good spot. So I that's kind of where I'm at. Bad teams in good spots, Dean. And I think that's kind of the dilemma of this slate.
Yeah, Cincinnati's in a pretty good spot. Paxton's are pretty good, but obviously the ballpark is solid. And Paxton has given up a fair bit of homers. Again, small sample stuff, but over 51% fly balls this year, 2.5 homers per 9. That's too many. You mentioned Tommy Henry, 48% fly balls, so a lot of fly balls. The roof is open there, and he's been lucky homering the fly ball, just 11.5%, but still giving up 1.59 homers. And I like the thought process of the Rockies, and so I start looking at the Rockies lineup, and then I like it a little bit less. But, Grichuk looks good. Looks really, really good in plate IQ. Bryant as well. I don't know if I fully stack it, and I'm also coming at it from a perspective of somebody that focuses my lineup builds on, a 500 team field, maybe 1,000 people, 1,000 lineups, not 20,000 or 15,000.
Right.
And
right.
When you're making, you're making. Go ahead.
And I was going to say that's actually kind of a totally different feel too, right? Like, when you're building in at D, and I think one of your favorites like the 111 on DK, the single entry. Is that one of your favorites?
121, yeah.
121. Like when you're building in that, it's conceptually it's a little bit different. You don't have to take on as much risk, right? Because the pool is small. Everybody's got one lineup to build. Versus when you got to compete against Squirrel in the $15, totally different approach. You may want to take a couple more chances. And look, I can tell you from experience, it's not impossible to take one of those down with a single bullet, but it is very hard. I've done it twice in my career where I've taken down the large field GPP with a single bullet. I've only done it twice. Dean, I've been playing DFS since 2015. I've taken it down twice with a single bullet, right? So like I'm saying, it's not impossible, but it's just unlikely. Now, how many times have I taken it down to GPP with 20 or more lineups? A lot more than that. So, it's a different feel. I mean, So once again, I think that's a really good point you made, Dean. If you know, not a completely different approach, right? But just not pushing the envelope all the way out, right? You want to make some concessions, which is why in that particular contest you probably don't fade Hunter Brown, because if he tees off, you're dead, like completely.
So I'm going to trust Eric's numbers here are good in chat, and he's saying the Rockies have a 68 WRC plus versus lefties, which is probably true because they are putrid. And WRC plus also adjusts for ballpark as well. It means they're 32% worse than the average team, but they're facing Tommy Henry. So, like, you know, what is it? The immovable object versus the whatever. What's the reverse of that? Because that's the reverse of that. Like, what's an inept hitter versus inept pitching? Something's got to give, I suppose. And you mentioned Milwaukee. Milwaukee's pretty interesting. We talked about Manoah being just terrible this year, like just awful, especially by his standards. He's been pretty good historically. 18% strikeouts this year is not good. And the walks at 15% is just outrageous. That's way too many. Too much power as well. You mentioned Milwaukee. I think Rowdy Tellez feels really good. First base, I think it was first base. I was looking at my rankings. I was like, man, first base is just loaded today. So this is on FanDuel. Like Bryce Harper, love Bryce Harper at 3.8. Vladdy 3.7 versus Julio Teheran, who's not been in the league for so many years. Last we saw him before his previous start, he was just getting hammered. Roof open also in 3.7K for Vladdy. I know Vladdy's not having this greatest year by his standards, but 3.7 just seems too cheap. Christian Walker versus LeMay, of course. Rowdy Tellez at 3K versus Manoah, love that. Smith leading off versus LeMay as well. And then, oh, by the way, the polar bear, Pete Alonso, who I think is leading the league in homers. I want to say he is. Nobody's going to play him. Like, nobody's going to play Pete Alonso. It's just not happening.
Yeah.
On this slate.
Aaron says, are we still talking pitchers? No, Aaron, we're talking bats now.
I mean, we're all over the place, but now we've kind of moved to talking about how about this, Aaron? Whatever you want to talk about, we'll talk about. We're here for the next 25 minutes or so. It's just kind of like an organic conversation, and we're like discussing the slate. Crunch Time's going to come in. You got Derek Carty. You have Dave Potts. Cheeseisgood. You have Kevin Roth. They're going to go around the horn. They're going to give their favorite stacks, their favorite plays at every position, their favorite cash game pitchers. They'll do all that. They'll run it back again. This is more like an organic conversation. We tend to focus mainly in the beginning on pitchers, and then in the end, this point, on hitters and stacks. But I just thought first base specifically is loaded, especially on FanDuel. I don't. Is Harper first base eligible in DK? That's why I say especially on FanDuel, but I'm not sure if he is or isn't. But Justin Turner's another guy. He's got multi-position eligibility, but it just feels like a really strong position. And where is Pete Alonso going to be owned today? Like less than 5%, right? On a 7-game slate. I know he's facing Nola. I know the position's loaded and there's better values, but he's the kind of guy that can hit 2 home runs, and that's it. That's the slate. You needed Alonso and, some other guys that did some stuff, but he's the main guy. Just a thought.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm not ever going to try to convince anyone to not play Pete Alonso in any spot. 5,700 today. The way I'm building, I will have some money to get him if I decide to go that route. So I don't mind that call at all.
Question in chat from the Detox 5. How do you feel about Reds? 5 Reds and 5 Red Sox, the old game stack. And I know game stack's a loaded question, but it is a good environment for a game stack. I'll give you that. We're looking at a 10.5 total. So now what I would say, Will, is that I would flip it in my head. If I'm playing a single entry, I'd prefer 5 Red Sox and 3 Reds, right? As opposed to 5 Reds and 3 Red Sox. But that's absolutely something you can do in a large field contest. Now in a single entry contest, I'm not doing that. But large field, sure, why not? The rules are opened up. I hate that Kevin Newman's leading off. Just no power whatsoever. I like what we've seen from McLean so far. India's really expensive. Like nobody's going to play him, but he's got some wheels. He's got a little bit of pop as well. It's not the best Reds iteration, but this lineup is not spectacular. But they have both their catchers. I guess Stevenson's probably DHing with Luke Maile also in there. Your thoughts on that as a lineup construction without knowing who the players are, obviously, but 5 Reds, 3 Red Sox. Any take there?
I mean, I don't hate it, but that's not the direction I'm going tonight. But I mean, I don't look, it's a small slate, so I'm not going to try to unconvince someone out of a theory. You know what I mean? I think you're muted, Dean.
Looks like we have, yeah, I'm muting and unmuting because of the rain, but it's finally starting to simmer down, thankfully. Well, I say finally, it's been raining for like 5 minutes. That's South Florida for you. It'll rain and then it'll pour for 5 minutes and then just stop out of nowhere. And that's what it did. I'm being told that we have a BVP alert. I don't know if Head Chopper let people know, but Eric's telling us apparently Alonso's got BVP against Nola. He's probably faced him a ton. He has a fair bit. 43 official at bats. 15 hits, 7 singles, 3 doubles, and 5 homers. Just 3 walks, 12 strikeouts. So I don't know. I don't know if you're a BVP guy, but I figured I'd share it. Sure, why not? Some people care. Yeah, Chop did get his BVP play yesterday. I was waiting for the tweet where he was going to victory lap it. I don't think he did, but Ketel Marte did homer in his very first bat yesterday against somebody he had BVP against, like 8 at bats, something goofy like that. But yeah, do you care for this stuff? Does that do anything for you? You get more excited, less excited, or you're right where you're at, right where you started when it comes to BVP Alonso versus Nola?
Oh man, listen, I don't mind BVP at all. It's not like my primary resource, but listen, man, when the Chop man himself comes in and says, "Hey, we got a little BVP action," I'm in on it, right? I trust the OGs. Chop's a guy that I've followed throughout the years. When I got started, I mean, so I trust the OGs, man. If he's going to put out the goods, I'm going to accept it. That's free information, D.
Yes. Let's see. Mr. Richard wants to know, are there any X-out teams for DK tonight? I assume he's talking about from an offensive standpoint. Any teams that you would just X out?
You mean for stats, right?
I'm not sure. Like, I want to know, like, if you're making 100, probably if you're making 150 lineups, at the conversation you're asking. I think you can make an argument for Milwaukee. You can for Toronto, Cincinnati, sure. Boston, sure. Philly, yes. Mets, yes. Minnesota, leveragey. There's some power there. I don't think I would X off any team this slate.
I would. I'm probably Xing off Minnesota. Understanding. So for me, here's what I'm trying to do. I'm just going, if I'm going to go all in on Brown, I'm going to go all out on Minnesota, meaning they're out of my bills. But that's just my process today. And the reason why, Dean, is sometimes I don't want my player pool log jam with guys I don't want to play anyway. So I want to keep that player pool compressed. Like, so for instance, I might want to take a one-off with like Julio Rodriguez today against Clark Schmidt. Well, I don't want that to be logjam because just force it in Max Kepler. I want as much Julio as I can get. This is just an example. So that's why I try to trim my player pool, even in baseball, especially more so on a small slate. Now, on a bigger slate, I'll probably play my favorite stats, and I'll take a lot more one-offs, especially when I'm in lineup HQ. But on the smaller slates, man, I'm for sure looking to get rid of as many as I can and just really try to compress that thing down. And if Joey Gallo hits a home run and he only gets 1 home run, I'll live with it because I'm expecting the other guys to get there for me as well.
Yeah, if somebody hits a solo home run, they go 1 for 5, whatever, like you're going to be fine. It's not breaking the slate. You absolutely do not need that player. By the way, Paul Bishop is pointing out that Matt Chapman apparently is 2 for 2 BVP historically against Julio Teheran. I don't know when that was. It must have been like 5 years ago or something like that. But that was probably when he was on Oakland. Had to be. So there you go. And I'm pretty sure Teheran, like somebody saying, he was historically more vulnerable to lefty bats than righty bats. I'm just throwing every bat against Teheran. Love Toronto. Big Hurt wants to know. He's asking you specifically, FanDuel single entry. Would you play Varland? He's throwing baseballs for the Twins.
I don't hate it. Like, Houston has been striking out this season. I think they're, I need to check their past couple weeks stuff to make sure that everything's still in line with where they are for the season. But obviously, he should have trouble with Alvarez, should have trouble with Bregman, probably should have trouble with Tucker. Can he get ground outs or get a couple strikeouts from those guys? Varland is a guy that we saw kind of come on the scene, have some nice strikeout games, and now he's picking up 3 and 4 strikeouts. I don't hate it in tournaments, but it's not like honestly, on FanDuel, I just hit the lock button on Hunter Brown. But that's me. I'm an aggressive tournament player, Dean. So for me, that's my style of play. I'm very aggressive. If I feel like Hunter Brown is going to be the guy, I'm going all in on this type of slate where all these other pitchers are marginal at best.
Kirkwood in chat, he said, who wants Payne pitch Manoah with me? I don't know if he's specifically playing on Yahoo. I know Kirkwood plays a lot on Yahoo, where he's talking about DK as well. There's not a lot of options as an SP2. Maybe Manoah's super, super cheap over there. But if you want to feel a little bit better about Manoah or clicking that button, at least you're there with Kirkwood. And, Kirkwood's pretty sharp. So I don't feel good about it. So I don't want to do it. I may begrudgingly. I haven't made my lineups yet. I'll make them after the show. But there you go. It's worth noting that Kirkwood is playing Manoah. At least that's what it sounds like. I don't want to do it, but it may. Yeah, lose. He's saying lose with me. There you go. Eric saying his highest percentage owned pitchers are Manoah and Brown. So, he's playing Manoah on DK, Kirkwood, that is. Aaron's got a question. Ketel Marte, best value at second base on FanDuel again. I think he is. Or is it Kim a better play if I run Devers at third? Yeah, FanDuel specifically, Devers looks like an awesome, awesome play. I think he's 3.6 over there. He got a discount against Weaver. I think Weaver might be like reverse splitsy, but I don't care. Like, whatever. I'm going to play Devers against Weaver. Yeah, he's 3.4. My apologies. He's only 3.4 on FanDuel, which is just a silly price. Chapman, more expensive. I think it's an interesting pivot because people are going to get the Devers first for good reason. But, pay a little bit more, overspend on Chapman, and take on Tehran. I like that. And Turner as the cheapie. And the other part of that question was Marte. Yeah, Marte is the best second baseman. San Diego is lead. This is on FanDuel. They are leading off Kim, but no, Marte is the better play amongst those two. Let's see what else is going on here in the chat. Manoah is going to give up some juggalo bombs, unfortunately. Yeah. Can I play Yelich today against Manoah? Or is he just going to walk him? He's just going to walk Yelich. Is that what's going to happen here? I don't know what to do. I feel like we should pick on Manoah a little bit. Like, play it both sides.
I don't know if he'll walk him, but I mean, I definitely think Yelich could get a hold of him. Like, Manoah's been bad, so and Yelich hasn't been great this season either, but he's 4,400. I like the Milwaukee offense, so I'm in on that team. And all these teams that I'm stacking today, and especially in terms of lineup HQ, Dean, I'm going to find my main guys that I really want to play, right? Like, okay, these are the guys I really want to play. And then there are other guys that I probably won't play that will only be stack related. Like, I'm not taking a Joey Weimer one-off, right? Or Victor Caratini one-off. Like, those aren't things I want to do. I would take a Rowdy Tellez one-off, a William Contreras one-off, a Christian Yelich one-off. Guys that I feel like can kind of get there. But all these other guys would be reserved for stacks only. And what that's going to do, Dean, and hopefully I'm not talking too much today, but I'm just trying to help people.
You're talking plenty. You're talking more than enough. You're good. You keep going.
Great. So hopefully what that will do is, let's say you end up with the stack of the Diamondbacks. So one of my favorite stacks or ways to stack the Diamondbacks today is going to be that wraparound with Perdomo, Smith, Marte, Carroll, as an example. Then what will happen is, even if Milwaukee goes off, or let's say they don't go off, but Yelich hits a bomb and steals a bag, if I'm having a one-off with Yelich and a one-off with Rowdy Tellez, I wouldn't have any first baseman in that particular wraparound. So I could end up with a really good production from Arizona, two bombs from Rowdy Tellez, which is my one-off. I could end up with another one-off from a guy like Devers or something like that, just as an example on this type of slate. And so I'm not necessarily double stacking, but I'm stacking and then I'm hunting for massive amounts of fantasy points based on how I think they're going to hit the pitcher. So just wanted to put that out there. Hopefully that makes sense for everybody. And sorry to hog up the mic here.
Dude, you're all good. We got 15 minutes till crunch time comes in. We did get a Colorado lineup, by the way. No Chris Bryant. So a bad lineup gets worse. Grichuk leading off, Tovar, McMahon, Diaz. They both catchers in there. So Diaz is DHing. Montero, the rookie Jones, who has got a lot of power. We'll give him that. Doyle, Trejo, and I believe that's Austin Wins, your Colorado Rockies. Yes, that's a rough lineup, man. It's not good, but theoretically they're well positioned to do something against Henry. Hey, are you a best ball guy? You like best ball? You dabble in the best ball streets, or not just yet? You're waiting. Is that your realm or not so much?
Not really.
You don't have to be. It's not a trick question or anything. Just want to let the people know if they happen to be in the best ball streets this year. There's $15 million up for grabs. There's a $15 million contest on Underdog. DraftKings is a big contest. I know Drafters is a big contest as well. We have all the best ball content you need on Spike Week, and we also have a promo code 40% off your monthly or seasonal subscription by using the promo code RG23. SpikeWeek.com, player projections, strategy content, player rankings, the draft IQ, team mover tool, anything you would need to help you draft your best ball teams. It's never too early, Will. I'm told it's football season all year round. Are you excited about your Carolina Panthers?
Yeah. I mean, look, I just hope we're better. As long as we're better, I'm fine with that. And by better, I mean, let's have a shot to get into the playoffs, like a real shot, not like a fake shot where everybody's losing and we're like 8 and 9. A real shot, I mean.
Oh.
Hello?
All right. I had a little technical difficulties on my end. I couldn't really hear you, but I'm sure you were making good points, or maybe I'm not sure what's going on. It might have been my laptop or your computer, but hopefully we're good to go moving forward. Daryl is saying Devers has been terrible. They're just pricing him on potential. He should be 2,500. I mean, come on. I know Devers has not been spectacular, but not the expectations he set over the years. But 2,500. That's insulting. Why no Chris Bryant? I don't know. I mean, the Rockies, they don't prioritize winning. They don't care. They paid him $150 million. Just chill. Yeah, my internet's fine. I don't know what's going on. Maybe it's the weather. And my apologies if it was a bit of a hiccup there weather-wise. Oh, wait, the chat's telling me there's no way there's Austin Wynns BBP. That cannot be. He never even plays. How does he get BBP? This guy's he's got like 200 career bats, maybe. I don't know. What's Austin Wynns BBP? He's 1 for 2 with a home run. Well, you got to play him now, right? That's a sharp coach there. Yeah, maybe it's the back with Chris Bryant as well, because that seems to be a hiccup. I got a lineup HQ question for you from Julio. If you're not getting to a certain stack combination, what's the best way to do that? There are different ways to force that. When you say stack combinations, you mean you want 4 players on the Red Sox and 4 players on the Red? Like, you can do all that stuff pretty manually if you go through groups and stacks. Or if you want combinations of like 4-4 or 4-3 or 4-2, however you want to run it, or if you want to do it on DK 5-3, you can get it that way as well. If you don't want any of the 9 hitters, just cross out the 9 hole. Every 9 hitters out of your player pool. So I'm not sure what your issue is. Maybe that would be easier if you explain what your issue happens to be. Then we can kind of go from there. But teams that you're not getting much of. Okay, there you go. You could scroll down. If you go to stacks, go to stacks, and you'll see a quick stacks go below that. And then you can literally put like every single team is listed. San Diego, Miami, Milwaukee, Toronto. And if you want 30%, primary stack San Diego, just put 30 in there, 30%, good to go. And obviously if you're put over 100%, it can't get you perfectly, and it's going to do the best it can. But you manually plug in what percentage you want of every single team. So try that out again, run it back. Derek is saying, do not X out Perdomo, the 9-hitter for Arizona.
Yeah, I've been talking about Perdomo the whole time. I'm on the wraparound. I love Perdomo.
I'm not making enough lineups where I can play him. I don't think I am.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I mean, even if I'm single entry today, I'd probably, if I'm playing Arizona, I'm on the wraparound stack. But that's my preference.
We should acknowledge the Yankees, right? Like, they smashed in Seattle the other night. They have Aaron Judge who just annihilates baseballs every single night. The rest of the lineups are kind of goofy, especially when you're talking about Bowers and Greg Allen we're looking at, and Calhoun. They're cheap. I'll give them that. Stanton's in Double-A right now, I believe, so he's coming back soon. Same with Donaldson. So this lineup's going to be changing quickly. I don't think they're on their way tonight, as far as I know. but I believe they played yesterday in the a rehab start there for the Yankees. How do you feel about the Yankees? 3.5 total. Kirby, ground ball guy, does not give up home runs. So that's why I don't like stacking against him. But it is, it's Aaron Judge. I'm probably not going to have much, to be fair. I'm hoping Judge doesn't do his thing.
Yeah, I mean, once again, especially when you're trimming the player pool, I'm not stacking the Yankees, but I wouldn't mind an Aaron Judge one-off. He's one guy on this slate that could obviously hit 3 home runs against anyone. So, you take your shots. But he's not at the top of my list, but I would have him in a one-off situation. Excuse me, if I'm running 150 lineups, he's for sure a one-off that I would take on this slate.
So Travis wants to know if Paxton can get 20 points, and then Paul's just saying Paxton's going to get crushed. I don't really. He's one of those guys I don't have a good read on. The sample's not big enough. Historically, really, really good before he got hurt. Kind of a mixed bag after getting hurt. Can we draw much conclusions from his 14 innings so far this year? He's given a lot of home runs, given 25 balls, but he's also striking out a ton, 31.7%. But again, it's just 14 innings. So what am I really doing with that? You could say he's been unlucky as far as homering the fly ball, but again, the ballpark today is going to play homer friendly if you trust Weather Edge. Let me give it a refresh and see if things have changed. So last we looked, it was a 15% boost, 20% boost for homers. It was a good number, and the total in that game is at 10.5 now. Giving it a refresh, see if anything's changed. Yeah, 11.5% boost in homers, 10.7% boost in runs in a 188 game sample. Will, do you have an official take on Paxton? I'm wishy-washy. I do not. I don't have one that I feel good about because I can see both scenarios playing out.
Well, once again, so here's the thing. I'm committing to Paxton because of the tournament upside, right? He's cheaper. Look, he could get blown up today, and I understand that. I'm willing to take on that risk. Schmidt could get blown up too, but I'm willing to take on that risk just for the upside. And that's why, once again, on DK, I'm just not going below Schmidt, right? I'm locking in Brown, and I just kind of cycle through some of these other pitchers. Clear. I don't think Kirby would be at the top of my list in terms of ownership, but I've got 5 pitchers there. Some of them would be at 10%, some at 20, some at 15, whatever. But that's kind of how I would do it. Under the premise that I'm locking in Hunter Brown and cycling through everyone else. I could go at even 20, but I don't want to do that. I don't trust Kirby as much in terms of the upside. I kind of don't trust Nola as much right now in terms of the upside, but I play more Nola than Kirby, I think. So anyway, that's just kind of how it would go through the process.
Let's see. Cam I am is saying I'm getting some Weaver, but I don't feel great about it. You shouldn't feel great about it. Your expectations will be low if you felt really good about it. Is it possible you can get there? Sure. I don't think I'm getting the Weaver. You mentioned a bunch of guys like 10%, 5%, 20% here and there. Was Weaver one of those guys, or did he get the X for you?
I'm cool with Weaver. So Schmidt on up, I'm playing those guys.
All right. If we hit 50 likes, do we get a Dean Does Long Dongs with a twist play of the day? I mean, I guess you can get one of those as is, but are we not at 50 likes? I've not been begging for them appropriately, apparently. Kindly hit that like button and subscribe and turn on those notifications. At least hit the like button, if nothing else. 1 out of 3. 2 out of 3 is not bad, but 1 out of 3 I will settle for. Hit that like button. We got crunch time coming in about, 5 or 6 minutes. 6:40 start for Fanduel. I'm not sure exactly their format, but I presume they're going to focus on, they'll at least talk about very early the Marlins and the Padres. The DK slate does not start, I believe, till 7:07 or 7:05 or some sort of goofy number like that. We've not talked about umpires, but according to Steven, the umpire has a tight zone in Boston. Let's see what our lineup HQ has to say about that. Do we have an extreme hitters umpire also? That's an interesting combination if that's the case, with good hitting weather and a good hitting umpire. That is the case. It looks like it's going to be, extreme hitters umpire for Paxton, Alan Porter, 1 extreme pitchers umpire. Oh, you know what? Alek Manoah's got an extreme pitchers umpire. He's going to need it. He can use the corners.
I don't care about that. Sure. Manoah's been awful.
Yeah, I know. He's been bad.
Listen, so here's the thing, Dean. Here's how I view umpire data, and I think this is good. Do I think umpire data can help or can help your process? Yes. Do I think it's better for good pitchers? Yes, I do. So, if we're talking about a guy like, let's go, somebody that pitched today, Mitch Keller, and he's got a pitching umpire, I may value that a little bit more than I do with a guy like Alek Manoah, who's just bad right now, or could just be bad in general. You get what I'm saying? So that's kind of how I try to take into account the ump data. Like if a pitcher's bad, like first of all, with pitching, they need the skills. And so if they don't have the skills, it doesn't matter if they have a hitter's umpire, a pitching umpire, an extreme pitching, extreme hitter. They're terrible. It doesn't matter what ump is up there. They're going to get knocked around most of the time. With good pitchers, it almost doesn't matter whether they have a hitter or a pitcher because they're good. They've got the skills to be successful at the major league level. So I'm not trying to make anyone feel bad or be a jerk about it. I'm just saying, like, you have to have the skills in order for some of this to even matter. And so if you don't have the skills, like if I'm going to pitch a Major League Baseball game and they're like, oh, Chief has a pitching umpire, it doesn't matter. I probably can't throw past 65 right now, which is also Rich Hill. I'm kidding about Rich Hill. He's like in the 80s. But anyway, I think you understand what I'm saying. Not trying to belittle anyone, but don't overvalue pitch data or umpire data because the pitcher still has to have the skills.
By the way, I didn't give out my completely ridiculous Dean does long dongs with a twist play today. I got a couple. Dalton Varsho. I got Dalton Varsho batting cleanup versus Julio Teheran. Like him a good bit. Let's see. On the other side, Tala seems, I don't want to say too easy, but I'll avoid that one. I'm going to say, I'll go off the board. Enrique Kike Hernandez versus Luke Weaver. There you go.
Steven Jones says, the ump from the Astros game last night would disagree. I'm assuming somebody really painted a corner and they got to call a strike. But at any rate,
I think I watched that game.
Have the skills.
Somebody was barking in that game, if I remember correctly. Pena was at the plate. That's what Pena was at the plate, and somebody in the dugout got ejected because. I think it was even the announcers for Houston that were getting upset. But yeah, it is tilting when they're like 3 inches or 4 inches off the plate, like basically the entire length of the ball, essentially, or the width of the ball, and they're still just flat out. Yeah, the Astros hitting coach. There you go. It was a bit of a mess.
Wait, bring me in. Whoa. You left out the whole crux of the issue in that game, which is that there was a borderline call on Pena. He argued. He didn't argue. He was just like, hey, that's a bad call. Then the ump got in his face. He wasn't even trying to be confrontational. The ump got in his face, like barking at him. That's bush league umping. That's bush league umping, Dean.
And there's no accountability because the umpires union's like the greatest union in the world, and it's impossible to get one of these guys fired. Like that's the way it is. They can do whatever they want. They have carte blanche.
So then he tossed somebody in the dugout for like yapping back at him for being like, why are you getting in our players' faces when he's not doing it to you? Like, what? That's not my job.
Well, the other thing is like the crowd can see that. Like they can, if Pena's like complaining and he's not turning back, like the crowd doesn't really know that's going on, right? Unless you're like right on top of the plate. But the crowd, like everybody else can see when the umpire is leaning in and getting in the hitter's face. And now all of a sudden it's a thing. He's escalating a situation. He's antagonizing it in a way.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden the Houston, the dugout gets upset. And it's like, well, why are you upset? Get out of here. Well, this is your fault. This is what you wanted. Yes. This was your plan the whole time.
That's exactly it. Exactly it. Yes.
I'm just shocked. Can we talk about you're burying the lead here, Roth? You watch baseball? You watch regular season baseball games?
Rarely. I will catch a game or two. Yes. I'm gearing up because we got Shohei coming to town on Friday night, I think. Cheese, if that's still.
Yep. Yeah. Friday is going to be your man. So, you got to be there.
I think I got to be there. I think I got to drop some cash and go show
Shohei.
Yeah. By the way, why do they not call him the Big Show? He's big and he's Shohei. Can we call him the Big Show?
You could start it this weekend. Like
I'm going to start. Like I'm going to be the guy wearing the Astros shirt, cheering wildly for Shohei Ohtani, and I don't even think it's going to be that uncommon. Like I feel like there will be others.
Yeah.
He's universally beloved. Like I don't even think like on the road, nobody's running against Shohei Ohtani. He had 2 homers today on the road. I don't know if you saw that.
One of them was Bomb. Just a bomb. Oh, it's so fun.
Off of Lance landing, it might be just landing right now. Both of them were. Even Trout hit one like 475.
No.
Lance Lynn is having himself a rough day. The Angels put up like I think a 12 spot or something like that against them. You got anything interesting right now, Dave? Do you even look? I know you're not somebody that really cares. You're currently winning. Anything live as far as your current lineups for the early the day slates?
I truly wouldn't know. I doubt it.
Funny to me.
But what I can say is I think the world needs to give Will a shout out for just if there's one random call that happened on today's show, it was Will saying, you got to play Heimer Candelario. I think he's been the best non-Ohtani bat on the slate, just this random guy. Like, that was all Will on that one.
Good call.
Yeah.
Candelario 2 for 2 today. I believe he hit a homer as well. Yeah, 3 RBI. So a couple walks just for fun as well. So, I mean, why would you not play Heimer Candelario? I hit the lock button on him. I did not. I did not have any Candelario, unfortunately. But I guess we're waiting for.
This is why you look at the information. Like, if you just don't ignore the information, things will end up speaking to you. You know, when we pigeonhole ourselves into all the big names, then sometimes you miss out, and it's just the truth.
Apparently, it's Jamer. It's Jamer. Yeah, I feel like I've heard the announcers call him that before, and for some reason it was not connecting. But thank you for correcting that there in the chat. Yeah, Roth, is Ohtani going to pitch as well? You're trying to time it as far as catching him to both hit and pitch?
Yeah, so I reached out to Cheese a few days ago, and I was like, I need you to help me figure out when this is going to happen. So, yeah, it looks like Friday night's the night. It is not ideal with, like, babies and things, but I feel like I got to try to make it happen because he's incredible. He's the dude.
I love that Cheese is more reliable than Google. Like, you can't Google this.
I've Googled things and been let down, but Cheese has never let me down. So when it counts, I go to Cheese.
Yeah, are we still doing the if it's on the internet, it's true thing?
Right.
I'm not sure if that's how that works.
It looks like it's going to be Christian Javier versus Ohtani Friday night, June 2nd. You can get tickets as low as $32, and then that's before they hit you with all the nonsense fees.
You know what a person could do? A person could hear that Roth wants to go and make a website called Ohtani starting on Saturday, June 3rd. And then he would Google it, and that's what he would see. And he'd be like, I guess I'm going Saturday.
And I'd fall for it. So that's why I go straight to the source.
You just pay a few bucks, get it first on the search. Like, you could really mess with people too. That's what I'm going to do in the offseason.
Are we okay to yield here? I don't want to just suck up all the time, but I think Carty's supposed to be coming any second. Are we expecting him any second here, Roth?
I mean, I don't know his schedule. He's got a baby. I understand. If he shows up 15 minutes late, I know.
And we're starting earlier than normal today because the Fanduel slate starting earlier than normal.
Right.
But so let's just kick into it because we do have the Fanduel slate starting early. When he gets here, he gets here.
That sounds
all
good.
right. Well, myself and Will do appreciate you watching the first portion here of the Grinders Live show. Do stay tuned. The Fanduel sponsor Crunch Time, which may or may not have Derek Carty, but it definitely has Dave Potts, Cheeseisgood, and for sure, Chief Mineralogist Kevin Roth. Roth, take it away.
Good stuff as always. Welcome to it, ladies and gentlemen. It is Crunch Time Volume 2. It is the second Crunch Time of the day. Hopefully you were hanging out with us earlier in the morning. It was a morning show for us in Central Time, early afternoon if you were in the Eastern Time Zone. But here we are again. Cheese, we got another kind of decent slate, mid-sized slate going for tonight. How you feeling about it?
Yeah, it's a little better than today's with the pitching. It's still where we have like one, hey, this is your obvious guy, and then it's a jumble, but the jumble's a little better than it was today. They're not all going to go negative.
Okay, that's good.
So it's a little better.
You did say that, like, yeah,
it was as bad.
You pointed it out
as
clearly.
expected. Yeah, it was. I mean, there was no way around it. Like, it just wasn't going to be a good pitching slate.
Yeah, I like when people were like, this guy or this guy, and your answer was many times like, no, neither. The answer is neither of them. Hey, could you hold up a glass for a cheers here, because I think we may be
cheers. Is that the big Tervis?
The big guys, man.
Yeah.
These are like straight from the 90s.
It's the way to be.
They're so great. Wonderful water drinking cup. Hey, and there he is. We got Derek Carty. So we said hello to Cheese, the multi-million-dollar winner. Now we're bringing in Derek Carty, the CEO and creator of the Bat and the Bat X Enterprises. What up, Carty? Throw up the X.
Not much. How's it going?
We're good. We were just kind of gently working our way into the slate, but we're going to have to go pedal to the metal now because we've got FanDuel lock in about 20 minutes. So let's just dive right into it here with limited time. Carty,
And I think, let me just start by saying the FanDuel slate just has the one extra game.
Yeah.
And I don't think we need to go out of our way to slow everything down for the one game, because it is kind of the most out of the way game anyway that you're not going to love a lot in. So we'll talk about it, but like I don't think many of your decisions are going to be based on that first game.
Okay. Yeah. And Carty, that ringtone, was that Mario getting a mushroom and like growing?
Yes, it was. Everything on my phone has a Mario sound.
Yeah.
I just put it on mute though. Sorry.
I know. I approve. I was just trying, like I could tell it was Mario, but I was trying to picture what happened with that noise. But all right, glad I hit that. Okay, so we'll just dive right into both slates right now. Let's start with pitchers, and I guess Cheese, I'll let you start things off, and then we'll get Carty's thoughts.
Okay. I think we're definitely going to probably be in agreement that Hunter Brown is the ace. And he was the ace even before we got the non-Buxton, non-Correa Twins lineup. So I think you could go as far as lock buttoning him in tournaments if you wanted to. And he's really not that tough to afford. He's a little bit bigger gap on FanDuel, but there's a lot of ways to make him work. So I just want as much Hunter Brown as is humanly possible. And then we have this clump. Like I said, the clump is way better than it was today.
But it's not dissimilar from this earlier slate where you've got one star and then a grouping.
Yeah, it's just this group is better pitchers. It's Kirby, Nola, and Paxton.
Okay.
And even you could. Okay, stepping back even more big picture, there's a whole bunch of pitchers on this slate with wild question marks. Like we've got James Paxton's 3 starts in. We have no idea. Alek Manoah, great last year, terrible this year. We have no idea. Aaron Nola's not Aaron Nola yet, but he's still Aaron Nola. We have no idea. Julio Teheran, 1 start on the year. Like on the FanDuel slate, you add in Blake Snell, who never knows. Like there's a whole bunch of like wide range of outcomes that we just really can't know, which is all part of what makes Hunter Brown even more, hey, just play him.
Yeah.
For me in that next group, if salary's no thing at all, I guess I slightly lean George Kirby. I think Aaron Nola is going to be fine, but even like a fine Aaron Nola, it's not the ideal matchup. So I'll officially call Kirby my second. James Paxton is just the wild card of wild cards. I don't love it. I mean, he has upside for the price on DraftKings with just risk that we're all just making it up if we pretend like we know if Paxton's going to be good, because he's made 3 starts this year and 3 starts in like the last decade, essentially. Past that little group, and I don't love that group. They're all fine. And like Kirby and Nola both should be fine. Like it would be stunning if they give you a negative.
Yeah.
Whereas today, you are going mid-range for Lance Lynn's of the world where you wouldn't be stunned if they go negative. Sure. And the cheaper range, Clark Schmidt is the guy I'm most interested in. He's not cheap, but he's cheaper. And then, I mean, goodness gracious, I'm not playing Alek Manoah. Like, I understand if you want to. He's actually, I mean, he has a couple of reasonably okay DFS starts this year, and he is facing Milwaukee, and he was good last year. I need to see him be okay personally, so I'm not using him. But there just aren't a lot of cheap options, so I wouldn't yell at you for doing it. Carlos Carrasco, kind of same deal. Like he's been just terrible, horrible. Finally looked kind of almost okay last start, but still only kind of almost. So I don't like him. And then if you really want to just throw crazy darts, like there's 2 pitchers in the Arizona-Colorado game that are probably terrible, but it may not matter. Like, I don't know, $5,700 for Tommy Henry. If he gets you 8 points, you might be okay. If Kirby, Nolan, Paxton are all just kind of 16 points, which I think is probably what happens.
Yeah.
And then even Dinelson Lamé, he's been terrible as a reliever, but they did send him down. He got a start and he looked okay again. I think he's terrible and low upside and not a lot of pitch count. And yet it's such a bad slate. He's actually in my DK pool laughably.
Okay, interesting. All right, Carty, I could tell you were in agreement with the Hunter Brown and I believe Kirby at second. And then after that is where all the question marks start. So where do you land?
Yeah, it's clearly Hunter Brown. And then I think it's clearly Kirby. And then it's a whole lot of this sucks. Like Nola's fine. Paxton certainly has upside. For me, though, I think I like, if I'm not going up to Brown or Kirby, which it makes a lot of sense to do, I think I kind of like that like mid-range of gross guys. That includes Alek Manoah. As bad as he's been, like, it's a good matchup, and he can't possibly be this bad. And it's a crappy slate, and you're getting a big discount, and it's a good matchup. So, like, I'm fine playing Manoah and GPPs. Tommy Henry. I love Tommy Henry on this slate. He's the best point per dollar guy. He's super cheap. The matchup is fantastic. He's built up. He's got leash. He's bad, but everything else works out for him. So I like Tommy Henry a lot. And then Clark Schmidt is kind of in that same group, a little more expensive. I probably prefer Manoah or Henry, but I think Schmidt is certainly in play. Dinelson Lamet. Even on this slate, I don't think I can do it because he's not built up. Like he's probably going to max out around, the bet thing 78 pitches is his max. Like he's not going more than like 80. Just because he's not built up enough. He was a reliever. He's been building up. He's not there yet. He threw 63 in his last start, 38 before that. Like he's just not there. So I don't think he's for me. Just because of that capped upside, but it is a crappy slate, so you never know. That's pitching. Play Hunter Brown and cash on both sites, pair him with George Kirby on DK, and then in GPPs, hope one of Manoah, Henry, Schmidt, if you want to throw Nola or Paxton into your pool, have a ceiling game.
Okay, very good. Let's dive into some of the bats here. And I suppose we start with some stacks. And I do kind of want to get things moving because we've got that FanDuel lock. So, Carty, tell me what your thoughts are as far as stacks go.
Yeah, so the bat kind of sees like a couple of tiers. The top tier is Boston and Toronto, and then they're going to get most of the ownership. And then the next tier is Philly and Arizona, who will kind of get reasonable ownership. Like the ownership looks efficient. And then after that, it's kind of like Houston, Cincinnati, Milwaukee. I don't see a lot of ways to really I don't see a lot of stacks that are going to be under-owned tonight where you have like a lot of like potential by going with them. So kind of just take your pick. I think I'd stay more towards the top ones, Boston, Toronto, Philly, Arizona, and, find ways to differentiate yourself specifically on DraftKings with that second pitcher spot. Okay.
Cheese, what are your thoughts here? What are you stacking up?
Yeah, what makes the slate so weird is like there's not pitching other than the one guy, but there's not really that much hitting either, especially when we start going position by position. Those are the top teams. I think Boston and Toronto are very much the top teams with Arizona being the third. I like the Phillies and the Rockies and the Brewers quite a bit as well.
Okay. Let's go position by position. Cheese, start us off with a little catcher talk.
Okay. Before we do that, let me just say pretty much every position until we get to outfield kind of doesn't matter. I know it doesn't matter. It's a weird thing to say, but like there's almost not a player on the slate anywhere outside of maybe Devers that I actually really like until we get to the outfield. And then we like all the outfielders. So I just wanted to kind of throw that out there. Okay. At catcher, Diaz, Raleigh, and Real Muto are worth spending on. I love William Contreras. Alejandro Kirk is my favorite spend down, and that's that.
Okay. Carty?
The bet's not as high on Raleigh, especially at his price point. Doesn't love Diaz at his price point. I think if you're spending up, Real Muto is the guy that I like most, but I think it's fine to just punt it with Connor Wong. Boston's one of the best teams. He's in Fenway against Luke Weaver, and at 2.9K on this slate, that's enough.
That's that. First base.
So Vlad is kind of like your top guy. You certainly love him as a one-off. You love him in your Toronto stacks. I don't think you have to get up there in cash. He's going to be popular. He's great, but I think you're fine to save some money. Rowdy Tellez against Manoah in Toronto is a really good play. If you were using the bat to bet earlier, his home run prop was insanely good. It has since moved. And Justin Turner, I love Boston. Justin Turner's hitting third. Luke Weaver's like not a great pitcher. He gives up so many fly balls, so many home runs. Isn't really great in any aspect of pitching. He's kind of just like okay with strikeouts, okay with walks, gives up lots of home runs, and it's a really tough environment to pitch in. So I like Justin Turner quite a bit if you're saving some money on either site.
Okay. Just a response to the avocado mask. Good stuff. Good stuff, Carty. First base, your thoughts, Cheese?
It's a little more interesting on FanDuel. You can play Bryce Harper at first, and I do actually like him at first more than outfield. Rowdy Tellez is my favorite. I don't want to say cheap, but cheap-ish play. Justin Turner would be probably the cash game play. I prefer Tellez in tournaments. I like Christian Walker there as well.
Second base.
Nope. Yeah. So Ketel Marte and Bryson Stott are the two guys I like. I'll play a little like India and Torres, but pretty much like Stott and Marte on FanDuel are just too easy to get, and that's what I would do. You could also do John Birdie on FanDuel at, again, his usual three positions. And then on DK, if you want to punt, there's actually several. Kevin Newman, Owen Miller, Kevin Biggio. So feel free to save money other than Marte and Stott.
Okay, so I do want to pause real quick. We just got the Yankees lineup, and Stephen Jones says the Yankees lineup just put me on Kirby. The lineup is Torres, Judge, Calhoun, LeMahieu, Kenner Falefa, Bowers, Volpe, Higashioka, and Allen. Is that worse than what we were anticipating in it by any means?
I think that's literally exactly what we had.
Yeah,
Okay.
that is the exact projected lineup.
We are good at projecting those lineups.
So, and we like Kirby as the second best. We still do. He doesn't move up any.
Okay, that's what I was curious about. All right, I think that takes us to. Carty, your thoughts at second?
Nope.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, Ketel Marte is always a little too cheap on FanDuel, and the position's always crap. Kike Hernandez is in the John Birdie camp where he's 3-position eligible. I like Kike quite a bit. I like Birdie quite a bit on FanDuel. Snell is very easy to steal on, and everybody thinks he's the worst pitcher on earth. So I'm sure I'm going to convince people to play John Birdie against Snell. So Birdie's great. On the other side of that game, Ha-Seong Kim is leading off for San Diego. I think he's certainly in play on FanDuel for those cheap prices. There's no reason to spend on anything at second base. On DraftKings, I think Kevin Newman is my preferred of those cheap guys that Cheese mentioned.
Great. How about third base, Carty?
Rafael Devers is far and away the best third baseman, maybe the best play on the slate. He's really good. He's in Boston. He's facing Luke Weaver. He's got the platoon advantage. We talked about why Boston's great and why Weaver's not. And so I like Devers like quite a bit. Yeah. If you're not playing him, or if you want to, I guess, maybe differentiate your red stock stack, you do have Turner who's eligible at third, but obviously he makes more sense as a first baseman. In cash, there's no reason to do anything other than Devers. You have Birdie again on FanDuel, but he's better at second or short. You have Kim, who's better at second. Otherwise, like, it's just, I guess you can take shots if you want. You can take a home run shot with Matt Chapman or Spencer Steer or something like that. But Devers really is just like so much better than everybody else in this position today.
Okay, Cheese, I want your thoughts on third. And do we need to accelerate this to get through the outfield before FanDuel lock?
Let's just talk specifically about that game real quick.
Okay,
and then we'll just kind of go back into it. So yeah. I don't think, other than Tatis is the one guy I think we'll both mention on FanDuel at shortstop. he's the top guy. Like Trey Turner is cheap, but if you have money, Tatis is someone to prioritize.
Yeah,
on
Tatis
FanDuel.
is fantastic today.
I think that's the only guy that you're like going out of your way to play on either side of this game.
Great.
I do kind of like Soler as a tournament one-off against Snell. And certainly a Padres stack is very much in play, but well behind like Red Sox, Blue Jays, Diamondbacks. But as far as picking out names, it's really just Tatis that needs a special mention.
Okay, excellent. All right, with that, we can get back into your regularly scheduled program. Cheese, walk me through your third base thoughts.
So yeah, on FanDuel, like Devers is just too easy to get. Like 34 is kind of silly. But it is worthwhile to at least consider, if you're multi-entering, doing a couple Red Sox stacks without him. Just ownership wise, I mean, he's going to be in all the Red Sox stacks. Play a Matt Chapman or a Bregman or something instead of him, just to be weird and different, and know that it's not the optimal play. I do like Matt Chapman a very good bit. I kind of otherwise don't even really like anyone. It's kind of a bunch of in your stack stuff and cheap stuff. And it's just, usually it's a deep position and it's just not deep, which gives more reason to play Devers.
Okay. Let's go to shortstop. And real quick, I'll ask, do you like Tatis over Soto as your last man on FanDuel? Cheese.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Shortstop, where I assume you'll say Tatis.
Yeah. So Tatis on FanDuel, or you might play Tatis in the outfield to play a $2,800 Trey Turner because he's underpriced as well.
Yeah.
Although the outfield is strong enough that I would probably just use one of those guys. And then the pivots are Bo Bichette as a spend up, the Reds guys as cheaper pivots. Like McLean is not cheap anymore, but Kevin Newman is cheap. And then again, the John Birdie thing, who we already mentioned on FanDuel. Kiki Hernandez on both sites is pretty cheap. And that is everything that I like.
Okay. Carty, shortstop.
Yeah, on DK, where the pool's a little bit thinner, I like McLean quite a bit, and his price is more favorable on DraftKings. So I think unless you're spending up for Turner or Bichette, which you can, I think I'd probably prefer to save a little bit of money with McLean. I like Kike Hernandez on the other side of that game. I like Kevin Newman as a punt, better as a second baseman, obviously. On FanDuel, I think you get up to Tatis. I think you can also think about playing Turner because he's so cheap and it's a good spot. And then you have Birdie again. You have Kike Hernandez again. McLean is too expensive on FanDuel unless you're doing a stack. That's shortstop.
Okay. Outfield.
Again, Tatis on FanDuel. Probably better as a shortstop, but you can definitely play him as an outfield, especially with how cheap Trey Turner is. The Toronto guys in the outfield are great. Tehran is somehow still pitching in the majors, and that's the nicest thing I can say about him. Dalton Varsho and George Springer are both awesome. I think the Philly guys are great. Kyle Schwarber, especially on FanDuel, I really like. Bryce Harper, obviously, going to be really good. And I love all the Boston guys. You have Ref Snyder, who's super cheap. You have Jarren Duran, who's nice. You have Yoshida, who's expensive, but still good, especially on DraftKings. And Corbin Carroll for Arizona, certainly in your stacks, but as a one-off, he's a good kind of high-end type of guy tonight in a really good spot. Yelich against Manoah, I think, is certainly well-priced. And, that kind of covers outfield mostly.
Okay. Cheese, your thoughts in the outfield?
Yeah, it's pretty glorious. And like I mentioned at the top, other than Devers and maybe Vlad and Tatis on FanDuel, like my top probably 10 players are all outfielders. And they're mostly little groups of teammates like Alvarez, Tucker, Harper, Schwarber, the three Red Sox lefties. And then Judge and Carroll kind of sticking out as well. And then Varsho is a little too cheap. I like him a lot. Those are all kind of obvious-ish, but that's so many names that they can't all be obvious. You can't play all those guys in the same lineup. And I guess I'm not that worried about the ownership because of how many of them there are. And they kind of just have to split it up. So I'm just playing who I like. Other kind of random stuff that I like would be Randall Grichuk. I mentioned Soler on FanDuel. Teoscar Hernandez and Kelnick. And then there's some cheap stuff and find probably easier in my notebook. Like the Astros, like Myers, McCormick kind of guys. Willie Calhoun. So something about the Yankees and George Kirby. Like George Kirby is very specifically the type of pitcher I like playing one batter against, even if he's in my lineup. Like he just throws a crazy ton of strikes. They're going to hit the ball in the air. It's just like he's really hard to stack against because he walks 0 players ever. But a cheap guy with power like Calhoun is interesting. Ref Snyder is cheap. Stuart Fairchild. I mean, who doesn't want to play Ref Snyder Fairchild instead of Alvarez Judge, really, if we're thinking about it? I just said Alvarez, Judge, Tucker, Harper, Schwarber, Judge, Carroll, Fairchild, Calhoun, and Ref Snyder. So spend up in the outfield. That's the lesson here.
Yes. Okay. Hey, speaking of spend up in the outfield, we've got a question here that says, take a stand. It's from Kobe Profit. It says, Cheese, take a stand. The best pay up on the slate. They made you take a stand in the afternoon slate, and you said some guy named Ohtani. I think he did okay. I think he had an okay day. So Judge, Harper, Devers, or Judge. I don't. He named him twice. You could pick out.
I did
Judge.
too when I did it.
Yeah.
Judge, Harper, Devers. Is that what you said?
Judge, Harper, Devers. Yeah. Take a stand.
I will. Judge.
Oh, that's taking a stand. I like it. Cheese. Carty, you got a different answer?
Devers.
Oh, got some beef. But really, this is one of those situations where like
yeah, the answer is yes.
Yeah.
Like these are some of the best hitters in baseball.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. We've hit the FanDuel lock. We are now in no immediate rush to get through DK.
So can I mention for a second that I completely forgot up until about 3 minutes ago that Cheese still does this all by hand. He takes notes in a notebook, and that's what he works off of, which I just love.
Do you have the notebook handy, Cheese?
Yeah. I mean, it's just like a list of players by position mostly, and like some lines to where I like this guy better, so put a line here. And and then, you start drawing out the teams on another page, and you start writing some lineups in there.
It's so good. And that's why he's successful, because everybody else is just clicking optimize, and not Cheese. He says, I optimize right here. Right here.
That's how you get different. You get, if you're not using the same things as everybody else.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. But also the idea of projection systems like the BAT is not just to click optimize every single time, especially in GPPs, right, Carty?
Right. I mean, you're not just going to click optimize. Like, you need to kind of tell it a little bit what you like, what you want it to do. You need to set the rules for it. And then the BAT will create the most optimal versions of those things that you want to create, essentially.
Yeah. And Cheese, you use optimizers to some degree, right?
Yeah, it depends on what kind of time I have. If I don't have time to do everything I want to do by hand, I set all kinds of. It takes me almost as long because I set literally every single player on the slate. I set at least a min and a max, and usually change the projection, and then I do a lot of things. But yes, I mean, if I want to build 150 lineups, I'm not doing that many by hand.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Hey, let's get to some QQs. You guys want to give me a home run pick, or did I already put you on the spot with your pay up? Let's call that your home run pick.
Yeah, Devers and Judge. I think those are always reasonable players.
That works. I feel like that counts. Carter, you want to give me a sneakier guy real quick?
Yeah. So sneakier guy would be Well, let's say Rowdy Tellez for fantasy and for betting, if his odds are anywhere near where they were earlier today.
Okay, very good. Moki wondering if Cheese still uses an abacus for the math portion. You know what an abacus? You know the slide.
Yeah, little beads. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't. It broke. It broke.
Yeah. All right. And by the way, you're getting a lot of love for that, Cheese. People love the old school approach there. All right, let's pull up some QQs. I'll take a few till we run out, and then we'll bounce out of here. We may or may not go up until lock. We'll see. Hey, if you're thinking this is incredible content, how is this free? The answer is this show is sponsored by FanDuel. Make sure you're signing up for the FanDuel Sportsbook. If you're in a legal sports betting state, take advantage of their awesome bonus offer. New customers get the no sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets. Terms and conditions apply. I did this recently when I got to sign up for FanDuel Sportsbook. Made a bunch of money. It was really fun. I highly recommend that you are doing that as well. Let's get into some of the QQs here. FanDuel cash question, Carty, Tellez, Marte, or Kike and Devers?
Gotta be Kike Devers.
Did I hear your kid running? Your kid can't run. Carty?
Kike Devers?
Did I hear your kid running?
No.
I didn't think so. I thought I heard like your kid's Jay Big, right?
I don't have a kid.
Yo, okay, never mind. Yeah, that's all right. Let's see. What else do we got here? DKGPP, Cheese, Kirby Biggio Alvarez, or Paxton Merrifield Carroll with a full Toronto stack?
Kirby Biggio Alvarez.
Okay. Now my kid is screaming. This is fun. Cheese, when DFS players mention when DFS players mention their model, they are referring to their notebook. Okay. And then one more question: pencil or pen? Cheese, you pencil or pen guy?
Always pen. The reason you stay at hotels is to get the free pens. I've got 700 pens from various hotels, and that's what you use.
Ah, okay. Carty's child actually watches Crunch Time, so this is awkward. Oh man. Hang on. I'm having a tech meltdown here. Let me get to some more QQs. DK Cash, best shortstop, Carty, 3,400 or below. I've got Newman at second base.
Ezekiel Tovar. I don't love it, but he's probably your guy.
Okay. Alvarez or Judge in a FanDuel GPP, Cheese?
Alvarez.
Oh, hold on. 3,300 or below, right? That was a question.
34 or below.
Kike Hernandez, sorry.
Wow. Okay, very good. DK Cash, back to you, Carty. Kirby Schwarber or Schmidt Harper?
Kirby.
Okay. FanDuel Cash for you, Cheese. Turner and Harper or Springer and Yoshida, and that's Jay Turner.
Turner Harper.
Okay, DK Cash, Grichuk or Duran, Carty?
Duran.
All right. Scrolling up a little bit. Here we go. DK Cash question. Cheese, Kirby Schwarber or Schmidt Harper?
Kirby Schwarber.
Very good. Kidgate. There's a lot of funny kids. A lot of funny stuff going on in the YouTube. Carty, does Rojas have any pinch hit risk? There we go.
Let me see.
The kid doesn't have a large enough sample size to register for Carty. That's good.
Depends on which Rojas. Miguel had 16%. Josh has 22%.
Probably talking Josh.
Yeah.
Miguel was the early slate.
Oh, right. Yeah, Miguel was earlier today. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. FanDuel Cash, Cheese, Carroll or Yoshida?
They're both really good. I would lean Carroll.
DK Cash, Carty, Contreras, McLean, Varsho, or Kirk, Bichette, and Pavin Smith?
Hold on. You're going to have to repeat that for me.
So
Slower.
are you catching up on YouTube ridiculousness? DK Cash, it's Contreras, McLean, Varsho, or Kirk, Bichette, and Pavin Smith.
The first one, but I don't love paying up a catcher.
All right. DK Cash, Grichuk, or no, we did that one. DK Cash, Kirk, or Wong. Cheese.
I shouldn't think that hard about that one, but like the correct answer is probably Wong. I would play Kirk.
Okay. FanDuel GPP Carty, give me a pitcher. Do we just pay up? Do we just play the good guy?
I mean, Brown and Kirby are great, but they're going to be the guys eating up most of the ownership. So if you're playing a stack that's a little more off the board, load up on those guys. Otherwise, you're probably playing like Paxton or Manoah or Tommy Henry or something like that.
Okay, very good. Okay, hey, we've caught up on the questions. We haven't quite caught up on all the jokes, but we have caught up on all the questions. I think with that, we can bounce, right? We're not expecting. We've done everything we need to do.
Yeah, I think we have all the lineups. I think we got everything.
Yep. We're good to go. All right, with that, we're going to get on out of here. So for Cheese, for Carty, for our wonderful production crew, always working hard behind the scenes. Guys, we appreciate you. We love you. And we will catch you tomorrow. You have been crunched.